Hey, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Notes from the Edge. I am your host, Lisa Lacy, and this is the place that we have the conversations we should have been having all along. Guess what? You ain't talking about it, so we're gonna. And our guest today is Doug Lynam, and Doug has such a fascinating, unconventional life story. He began in the Marine Corps as an officer candidate before spending 20 years as a Benedictine monk. After leaving that life, he became a financial advisor, serving everyone from entrepreneurs to Hollywood professionals while developing his own groundbreaking, and it really is fascinating approach that combines the Enneagram with financial psychology. He is the bestseller of two books, and I highly recommend them both: Taming Your Money Monster and From Monk to Money Manager. He is a TEDx speaker whose work has been featured in the New York Times, CNBC, and many other major publications. His unique approach helps individuals and couples uncover the hidden emotional patterns driving their financial decisions so they can build wealth without sacrificing their connection with each other. Doug, welcome back for
Thanks,
round
Lisa.
three.
I have to say this has been your show is my favorite podcast to be on. I've been on hundreds, and yours is just knocks it out of the park every time because you're just such a great conversationalist. So thank you for having me back.
Well, it's a joy and a pleasure to have you here. I think the information that you have for people is so important, and that's why we're having you back as a regular guest. And I just find it so fascinating, and it has already been, so beneficial in our lives. Also, you have perfect timing because Brody and I just had uh, a a discussion in Walgreens about dog treats over $2. Friends, we're
Right.
in Walgreens, and he's like, "You're getting those? They're $2 less at Walmart." I'm like, "We're here." And the dog, we have a 21-year-old Italian Greyhound that cannot change his food. So we are different
You
when it
are.
comes to money. We
And
are different.
predictable and different in very predictable ways. And when we know what those are, it just kind of makes things a whole lot easier because you know how to talk to each other, you know how to communicate, you know where the friction points are going to be, and kind of what you need to let go of because it's probably not going to shift anytime soon. But you can harness the strengths of each of your types, and that's as you guys really are kind of a perfect couple in the Enneagram system. You're an 8 and he's a 5, so you've got so many great strengths to share with each other. And then you've got these friction points, which we got to talk about.
Yeah, dog treats. Before we get into it though, let's talk about the layers
Mhm.
that you work with, because most financial advisors work with numbers,
Right.
really, honestly. They work
Right.
with numbers. For couples, what can be happening? And finances are one of the primary reasons people end up, not making it.
Right.
And we certainly want people who had invested time and energy and love into each other to stay.
Right.
So, what is really happening a lot of times underneath those financial arguments, do you
Well,
feel, from
I,
your
I
work with people?
Yeah, so this is where we kind of got to dive deep into the Enneagram, and we did two shows on this already, so we might want to. I'm not sure how much you want to retread, but essentially, your ego can only form in certain predictable ways. There's only so many ways you can design the shell of an ego, just like there's only so many ways you can design a car. There's infinite variety. You can customize it in a gazillion ways, but if you're driving a family sedan or you're driving a sports car or compact car, like that ego shell of the Enneagram tells you what that ego shell is, and where those conflicts are arising is because you're both trying to protect a core wound, a childhood wound, a fear
Oh,
that your ego is really designed to protect you from, to get you through that stress of your childhood. But then it creates kind of, all kinds of fender benders and 5-car pileups when you get a little bit older, because you're still running on that same operating system, and it's necessary. It's
mhm.
actually essential. You couldn't form an ego without it, and so it's not bad. It's just you got to kind of know how to tune it up so you're using the best version of yourself and not the kind of the lower, more traumatized version.
Well, and I think, Doug, just a heads up, listeners, what we're going to do, and I would highly recommend you go back and listen or watch Doug's episodes in order. so that you can understand a little bit more about the Enneagram, especially the story about how he came about having his own method using the Enneagram with finances. But give us the 50,000 square foot bird's eye view of
Mhm.
what an Enneagram is.
Sure. And if you'll allow me, and I'll talk you through this, but I'll put it, if I could put a little graphic up on the screen, it'll help.
Please do, yeah.
And then we can, but for those who are just listening, what I'll do is I'll create all of these slides as a PDF, and we can put them in the show notes so people can open and look at them as we go. But again, I'll try to explain them verbally, but sometimes a picture really is worth 1,000 words. So let me share a screen, and I will share screen. I might have to edit this a little bit out. And then here we go, share that. And I'm going to put it in slideshow view. Okay, so what we're staring at here is really a color wheel. So just imagine, oops, I lost you.
Oh, I'm here.
I know, but I can't see you. Sorry.
All right, I'm going to pull myself down and then back up.
There we go. See it. Okay. So, so maybe if you could ask your question again, and then I'll jump back in.
Just give us the 50,000 square foot bird's eye view of what an Enneagram is and how you have developed your own use for it in terms of finances.
Okay, a 30,000 foot view is your personality. As I said, is in order for your ego to form, you need to individuate and differentiate from your caregivers in childhood. And that what I call kind of we talked about in the other show, kind of the psychological umbilical cord that gets cut that allows you to separate egoically and develop from your caregivers and your siblings and the rest of reality. But it creates a core wound, and that wound happens in 9 predictable ways. And it comes out of neurobiology and childhood developmental psychology. We know from the work of an affective neuroscientist by the guy named Jaak Panksepp, if anybody cares. He basically found that in all mammals, there's 3 core negative emotions, and they are going to be anger, grief, and fear. So somewhere in childhood, you got hit with a little more anger. We get hit with all of them, but you got hit with more anger, you got hit with more grief, or you got more fear. And that creates what we call the 3 triads of the Enneagram. So think of a color wheel. Let's just cut it up into 3 quadrants. And then we're going to subdivide that 3 more times, because there's 3 ways to process that pain from your childhood. You can internalize it, you can externalize it, or you can do both. And that's why there's 9 types. And so in a Cliff Note version, that's it. And you can, the color wheel metaphor is helpful because there's infinite variety inside each type. It isn't like, oh, you're this type and it tells you everything about yourself. There's infinite shades, hues, textures, and possibilities, just like a car. Like you drive a unique year, make, and model. You can put leather seats in it. You can put a custom sound system, whatever, or maybe your muffler sucks. But and that's kind of more of our DNA. Like your DNA kind of determines the loadout, if you will. But then the most important thing, and this is the punchline, is that each type then develops a core unconscious deepest fear that then their ego is designed to protect themselves from. So we walked through your ego structure and your ego map last time. And then now we're going to try to go into yours and Brody's together. And so there's really, I'll put these up. I'm not going to walk you through all of them, but you can kind of see in a quick nutshell that each of these 9 types has a deepest fear. And for you as a type 8, that fear is being harmed or controlled. It's that need to take charge and be in control all the time. For me, I'm a type 3, if anybody cares. So my fear is being worthless, which means I'm always trying to perform for others, to look good in front of people, to have a huge checklist of accomplishments in order to validate my self-worth, in a nutshell. And then each type responds to that fear in different ways. And so type 8, we call you the challenger. I give them these car metaphors because I think that's playful. Type 8, I call them the Hummer of egos, because you can sort of roll over obstacles very easily, and you tend not to be very fuel efficient with your opinions. You tell the truth, you say it like it is, you cut to the chase, maybe a little too blunt sometimes, but we love you for it.
They call me a truth teller. I say it's truth telling. Yes.
Right. So really what we want to talk about today is couples in the Enneagram. So rather than try to explain all of it, let's just talk about you and Brody, because you mentioned at the beginning, his obsession over the price of dog food. And so as you told me, he's a type 5. And what that means is, so type 8s get wounded by anger that they've externalized to the world. That's their hard boundary setting, that's pushing out. Type 5s are wounded in a very, very different way, but also a kind of complementary way to the 8. They're wounded by fear, and that fear is they've internalized it, and it means they fear being helpless or incapable or incompetent. So they strive to be very independent, very self-reliant. They tend to live in their heads a lot. They're the deep thinkers of the Enneagram often. And they're often called the investigator, because they're sort of scanning the world around them and kind of taking this infinite amount of information from the world in, and it kind of feel very overwhelming and even intrusive at times. So I call them the compact.
I just gotta stop you. That's it. Right. That's it. Like I'm working with you, Doug, has been amazing because it is so spot on.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And so that fear of being incompetent drives them inward. And that's why I call him the compact car. So if you're the Hummer, he's the compact car. You're not exactly opposites, but you're very different. Let's put it that way. And so the 5 is the compact car because they tend to be very fuel efficient with their emotions and opinions. They have a very small gas tank for social interaction, but they can fit into really tight mental spaces where the rest of us are terrified to go. So think Albert Einstein or Stephen Hawking, or if you want some contemporaries, I think like Mark Zuckerberg, others, they're really living in their heads a lot. And so tend to be socially maybe a little bit awkward at times. And then when it comes to money, you've got this really different way of relating to it, right? For you, it's all about what it can do and what you're so decisive. And what I just put it to use right away. You want the dog food? I don't want to go shopping across town for the $2 off on the dog food. You just want to get it done and move on to the next thing. He's like, no, I want to research every possible brand of dog food and find both the best quality and the best price and the cheapest one. And maybe to go back to the 30,000 foot view. This is a bit of a sidebar, and kind of my own way of understanding it. I was a Benedictine monk for 20 years, and I don't want to get theological or doctrinal or anything like that. That's not the point. It's just to illustrate the deeper underlying truth that I think the Enneagram is pointing to, and that all of our religious traditions have been pointing to. If you remember the term, the 7 deadly sins, if you remember what those are, right?
Yes.
So it turns out the 7 deadly sins were actually 8. It was started by a guy named Evagrius of Ponticus in 1200s or something like that. And he came up with 8. And then a little later, a guy named Pope Gregory the Great took that list and he cut one out, shifted some around and made 7 and said, all right, these are the 7. And he liked the number 7. So that kind of got stuck in our cultural database, if you will. And then it didn't really get updated. And if you look at the Enneagram, and now if you look at the color wheel I've just drawn, you'll notice that every single type has a vice that goes with it, or what we might have called a deadly sin. And that worse. So there's all 7 of those 7 deadly sins are in the Enneagram, one that each type struggles with the most, but there's 2 that we forgot. And one was one of the ones that the Pope Gregory cut, and that's deceit, or kind of vainglorious self-promotion. It's kind of just always, it's not say it's lying, but it's more like vainglory. Like it's what 3 struggle with. It's this need to always look good in front of other people. So we put these masks on that are a kind of deception. And then we forgot about cowardice, which is kind of just an obvious oversight. And that's type 6. So when we add in deceit and cowardice to the original 7 deadly sins, we get 9. And now the word sin, we misinterpret it terribly. What it really means in the original is to miss the mark, like your golf swing. It's like, how does your golf swing tend to miss? Where do you tend to shank it to the left? Do you shank it to the right? Where is it that you tend to miss the mark in life? And it's not something to beat yourself over the head with. It's not a judgment. It's just an acknowledgement that this is where you tend to go a little bit sideways. And then, what can you work on to do better? And so if you're working on your golf shot and you're beating yourself up over the last shot you make, you're probably going to miss the next shot. So you kind of got to let it go. It's how do we let go of the judgment around it, but acknowledge that it's pointing to something very useful.
Well, and I love that because it helps us just realize, look, just reposition and try again.
Right. Just reposition, try again.
Yeah.
And bringing it back to you and Brody. So this, what we call the worst vice, or if you want to use deadly sin, for the 8 is lust. Now it can be sexual. Like 8s do tend to have a very high libido, but really it's more this lust for intensity. You love the fight. You love the challenge. You love to go out there and conquer the world, essentially. And so it's a vice, but it's also, each one has a virtue that goes with it. So it's and a strength. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but so every strength has a weakness and every weakness has a strength. And so that lust for intensity, though, is what can cause all kinds of fender benders for you. That kind of this almost vengeance, this need to push back when someone pushes on you. That as we talked about, that deep sense of injustice when something isn't right or just. Someone
that's been very challenging work for me. Yeah. It has required daily practice. And I use the phrase justified anger. What do you do with justified anger? Because something is unjust. So justice is a very important value to me. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Yeah. It's been challenging to practice daily, to work towards not reacting. Yeah.
And the good news about Brody as a 5 is he can handle it. Like, a lot of types, if you come at them with the kind of intensity or that truth telling, they're going to back away. And 5s have a really good ability to handle that. Like if you just tell them like it
and
is,
hold their own, like he really holds his own with it. Now, because he is so selective about when he speaks and what he says, and you have already pointed to that. He doesn't say much, but when he does set a boundary, it absolutely gets respected because he does it so, seldom. So yeah, he can hold me. Let's just say that he can hold me. Yeah.
That's great. And then the sort of the worst vice of the 5 is what we call avarice. Now it can be money, but it's that stinginess around money in part, but it's more a stinginess around his emotions, his sharing the inner world. It's a kind of information always comes in, but it's hard to let information or ideas or feelings or even money out. And so it shows up in the dog food aisle. It's like, I want to investigate the best brand, but I also don't want to spend any more than I absolutely have to. But what's really good about the 5 and the 8 pairing is what 5s really struggle with is emotional smothering. They don't like to share their emotions easily. They have a deep, rich, warm inner life, but they don't like to be intruded on a lot. So the 8 has a high energy level, but they also don't tend to need a lot of emotional handholding. And for other types, like if you were a 4, a 3, or a 2, for a 5, it could be very hard for them to if a 5 was paired with other types who need that more emotional connection, it's going to be a real struggle. So in that sense, you complement each other quite well.
Yeah, I do. I have to ask him. It's just the way we communicate, and I have to go, what's going on in your brain? Because we both have our mental health challenges as well, but they're different. And so I do have to ask him, what's your brain doing today? Right. And that's how I get in there. Yeah.
And he'll tend to process his emotions and ideas after the fact. So you might ask him a question, how he's feeling, but he might not have the answer till 5 hours later or the next day. So there might be a time delay sometimes.
Oh, and you can't rush him. Right. Don't try to rush that man. Right. Nope.
And so just to know that this is his style, and you want to go quick, you want, now let's go. That can be a stress point between the two of you.
All right. I'll remember that. Don't rush him. And sometimes he'll have the answer 24 hours from now.
Right. after he's thought about it forever,
I know, it takes forever. We have a saying that, well, my own therapist was like, you're at 95 and he's at 35 and we need you both at 55. So yeah.
Right. And then where you might also struggle in your communication styles is, so one thing to notice, there's a connection internally in the operating system of the Enneagram, where when eights get very stressed, they tend to look like a 5, meaning you borrow one of the traits from the 5. You don't become a 5, but you sort of borrow their stinginess temporarily, and it's sort of like you're either out and about, or you like a turtle, you kind of pull into your shell, and I call it kind of a rigid withdrawal, and so you can both get stuck in that withdrawal space if you're not careful, where you're not communicating and he's not communicating. And sometimes that, I don't know if you've noticed that pattern when things are hard.
Well, and when I withdraw from people, and I do, even in friendships, I have to say, look, sometimes I'm gonna go out on you. It's just what I do. Just do a life check. I'll send you a purple heart. We have different color hearts for my different friends, but it's shocking to people at first, because they were like, wait a minute, is everything okay? Are we still in a relationship? Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then conversely, when he's in a healthier, so there's levels of health in the Enneagram. It's not a static system. It's like you're this all the time. It's like, well, if you're, and there's a growth model built into it. So we're just talking today about, right now, at any rate, about the shadow structure of each type. There's an enlightenment structure for each type, which we went into a little bit on the other shows. But just talking from the negative for now, there's all it's a positive I can say about each type. But
that's the beauty of it. And guys, that's going to be in the second episode that we did, which we will provide a link for.
Yeah. And so for 5s, when they're in a healthier space, they start to look more like the 8. And
interesting.
So if you, I don't know if you've noticed this, but maybe you get him talking about something he's has a deep expertise in, or a deep
cars or guitars. That's
and
it.
then he
Music?
can go for hours.
Yes.
Right? He can just right. And so it's a more 8ness coming out, where that he's not stingy about those things. He'll share, it'll just pour, and that's where he's really in his happy space, and to let him have that. So. But anyway, but now if you jump in with questions at any point, I'll just keep, but I want to bring it back to the money piece, if that's okay.
Yeah, please. Where are we headed? All
right. So as we talked about in the other show, each type has kind of 2 relationships to money they can have. One where they're anxiously attached to, when they're unhealthy. Now, there's the healthy part, which is where I try to get my clients to. But when they're in their shadow and they're a little maybe discombobulated, they either become anxious about money or avoidant. So they either get really clingy and sort of needy or obsessive about it, or they push it away. They just don't want to deal with it in a particular pattern. And so from what I understand, from what you've told me, correct me if this is wrong, is you tend to be maybe a bit, in the past at least, you tended to be a bit more avoidant around money. You just kind of, 8s kind of blow through the boundaries of budgets. They just grab the credit card and want to go and
then turtle. Yeah.
And then turtle.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh crap. Yeah.
And then for Brody, the money monsters for the 8, I call them the detonator. That's the avoidant who just wants to, they don't want to be harmed. They don't want to be controlled. They don't want to be controlled by money. So they'll detonate their budget. They'll detonate the prudent limitations that reality is putting on them, because they just don't want to be controlled by it. So then some imprudent financial decisions, or like you're in the grocery store and you don't want to be controlled by I don't want to be spending a half hour here debating about saving $2 on dog food. He's setting a boundary. You want to blow through it. Like, I don't care about that.
Oh, I said, I'll pay the $2.
I'll pay the $2. Yeah. and as most of us would, right? But it's sort of a micro example.
Yeah.
Where for the 5, they're money monsters. I call them the moot and the miser. And I'm using alliteration, so let me explain those words. So moot means irrelevant. They don't care about the material world terribly much. And it doesn't, they'd rather be, they'll live a very minimalistic lifestyle. They won't care that much about money. They will hoard it, but they don't, it's just sort of moot, irrelevant. It isn't the thing that they want to think about. They want to be thinking about other things. And then when they're anxious, they become the miser, sort of like Ebenezer Scrooge incarnate. They become they're worried about that $2 on the dog
No
food.
good dog treats for you, puppies.
No good dog treats, right? Where no, and so they get being very micromanaging around money, sort of just Ebenezer Scrooge is kind of the archetypical example in the worst case, but variations of that, right? Where they're great at saving, they're great at keeping it, but they just don't let a lot out.
And he would have a pile of money in a tent in the woods if it weren't for being married to me. He would live in a tent in the woods with a guitar.
Right.
Now he'd need his dog and his guitar, and he would be very happy. And I am not kidding you. He would be very happy, but he would have a pile of money right there that he is spending only on the sale aisle in Walgreens.
Yep. So, I hope that helps you give a little bit understanding of your two types, and we can go deeper into the ego maps if you want, or wherever you want to take it. What are you curious about? Where are the friction points that you see in your relationships?
Well, before we dig into ours a little bit deeper, which I do want to do, I think just that alone has already given me so much insight. And I think our last episode had already given me so much insight. And I love, now he was not thrilled about being a compact car. I'm just letting you know that. He's a mechanic by day, musician by night. He was like, I don't like Hummers, but I'd rather be a Hummer. But what are the changes, Doug, when you're working with couples? What are the changes that you see for people when they realize that money is a relationship too, that our wounds, our childhood wounds are showing up in it too? I mean, this is all brand new information for a lot of us. It was for me. So what are some of the really cool shifts and changes that you see with some of your clients once they realize, oh, there is way more under the surface than just this dollar bill?
Right, because it's not about the math; it's about the emotions underneath it. And I think I may have said before, if you look at someone's spending habits, it's often a breadcrumb trail back to their deepest neuroses. It's like money is how we take action in the world, and so it's how our Enneagram type expresses itself most powerfully in many cases, because it's how we use. It's how we get stuff done. Money's how we get stuff done, and what you want to get done, and what do you want to focus on, and what's important to you, is so, I want to say determined, but shaped by your Enneagram type. And if you understand those underlying emotions, then most importantly is, as we just kind of pulled out a little bit in this conversation, one, you understand yourself better. You understand what it is how you've been self-sabotaging yourself in particular areas in your finance. Is it the earning? Is it the saving? Is it the investing? Is it giving? Where do you struggle? So Brody's going to struggle with the giving, that's for sure. But he's going to probably do great at the savings. So knowing that about himself, and it's like, okay, here's where my strengths are, but then here's the things I really need to maybe address that would make life, allow the love in my life to come out more fully, and
oh, that's so big.
Just allow yourself to use your money, but first of all, build it in a healthy way, spend it in a healthy way, and most importantly, use it to fix the crack in the world that I think God put you on this planet to fix. Like, what is the unique talents and gifts you have that the world needs, and then being able to direct the earning, the saving, the investing, the giving, in all lining those up towards that higher purpose, whatever that is for you. And then it all works better. The life works better. Relationships work better. Career goes better. So it's a transformational process across multiple domains of one's life when you can harness this stuff appropriately.
I love it. And bottom line, a lot less stress, right? Because then you're not stressed about it. Right? Because you have a plan. What I love about the Enneagram is it allows for a lot of self-compassion to, oh, that's why. A lot of the aha moments of, oh, well, that it was one of those moments of, oh, that makes perfect sense. Right? It makes absolute perfect sense. I mean, and you and I have talked about how I was raised in poverty, and by 22 I was making a 6-figure income with no training or money management or anything like that. So everybody was my friend, let me tell you, Doug. And when we were going out, I was like, I got it. guys, I got
Right.
it all with my Hummer in my Hummer.
Yep.
So yeah, but I think what your process allows us to do is have a lot of compassion and understanding for ourselves before
Yeah.
we even move forward into, okay, now that I have a clear understanding of what's been happening, now I can take the actionable
Right.
steps that
Right.
you help people with in those four areas. And then it's one less major life stressor
Yes.
to be worried about, and what a load off for many, 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 many couples, right?
Yeah. Amen to that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think you nailed it. It's that self-compassion for yourself, and then compassion for your partner too. Is like, I
yeah,
understand where you're coming from now. It's like there's this deep wound inside of you that's being expressed around the dog food. I don't need to judge it. I don't need to shame it. I may need to name it, but I don't need to. It's not about me, right? And so it takes the stress out of it takes the oxygen, the stress out of the conflict essentially. And then
yeah.
you also know how to communicate with that person in a way that's really going to be helpful.
I love it. I love it. So, understanding of self, understanding of your person, and a plan together for how to move forward. So, what's a great way for what do you recommend for couples who may be in communication
Hmm.
challenged in discussing finances at all? Some of us do, some of us don't, some of us do it poorly. Most of us probably
Yeah.
do it poorly, I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Yeah.
So, what are some suggestions that you would recommend to couples that maybe it's all they argue about is
Right.
finances and everything else would be great?
Well, it's a very hard question to answer because it really depends on the specific couple, right? So if you tell me what you and Brody need to work on, I can give you, some really clear tips. But maybe what my suggestion would be if you're struggling is, well, maybe take some time to learn your Enneagram type a little bit, and then learn your partner's Enneagram type. That's going to be a really helpful first step, and then be
I
able to
love that.
know where those communication breakdowns, what are you both looking for out of life in general? And when you understand that core principle, what the operating system of the other person is, then you see how it comes out in their behaviors. Then you have a better way to name the ones that are unhelpful or unhealthy, and move towards a deeper personal, psychological, and spiritual health for you got to work on yourself first. You don't want to work on the other person. You can't fix the other
Hey,
person. You can
I got
fix,
some for you, but I'm not
but
working on
right.
myself. Yeah, yeah.
So it's really a tool for self correction, but then also compassion for the other person where they're struggling.
I
And that
love
really,
that.
it changes the game. Once you know your partner's type, oh my gosh, everything just sort of starts to make sense because it's the
Yeah.
water they're swimming in. They don't know that's the problem with the beauty or the challenge of it is that you can't see reality from any other perspective than the one you're in.
Mm.
And I think I used that story in one of the other episodes of David Foster Wallace told this great story of these two young fish are swimming downstream, and an older fish comes up and passes by and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" and swims along. And then one of the younger fish turns to the other and says, "What the hell is water? Like, what the hell is?" And that's your Enneagram type. It's the thing you're in, and it impacts everything you think and feel and do, but you don't notice it because it's the thing that's doing the feeling and the thinking and the doing. So it's not separate. It's not something you can observe from the outside. It's something that someone has to reflect back to you. It has to hold up a mirror so you can see it. Otherwise, you can't see it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's where you come in, and I think that's where, I mean, you know me, I'm such a big advocate of having mentors,
Mhm.
having transformational coaches. It was the transformational coach that was the game changer for me after doing all the acronyms in the clinical therapeutic arena until I exhausted all of those. It was working with mentors that was the forward momentum for me, and it was solely that. It was having a human being telling me, "No, actually, you're not powerless. You're a very powerful human being, but we need to harness that,
Yeah.
and so that you're using it for good, not evil." So
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So that was the game changer for me. So,
Okay.
friends, we're going to provide you a lot of resources. Definitely dig into them, but if you get stuck, reach out to Doug for you, yourself or your partner. So, Brody, our goals moving forward. So savings are going to be a focus of ours coming up, because we're looking to get some land with some water. We want to be a little bit farther out than we are now. So, Doug, that's kind of where we're at. Knowing that I'm an 8 and he's a 5, what might be some of the challenges we may brush up against if we're right? If he's saving money and I'm not.
That's basically it, right? So as a couple, I would say outsource that responsibility to him. Like, or you're in charge of, which is hard. You got to give up control. And that's the thing about 5s and 8s is you both want your independence and your autonomy and control for different reasons. So you're both going to struggle with sharing power. You're both going to struggle with letting go of control, but to name it and say, well, this is really his strength. So if this is your shared vision, lean on his strength in this area.
I love that. What if I just say, hey, you hang on to this, do whatever you do with it, and we're going to be connecting with you as well too, for long-term planning with this. But I think that would make him feel, one, he would be like, wait, what? Yeah. He'd be like, what's happening? Right. Who'd you talk to today? What?
That's
but what an opportunity to show him how much I trust him too. Right.
And how much you think how competent and capable he is, which is what he's really looking for from reality. Right. Ooh, nice. And so when you say, I trust you, and for 8s, it's hard. It's hard for you to trust. It's hard for you to give up control. So it's a real act of, it's really leaning into, your growth. It's an area for growth for you, and then a real area of validation for him.
I love it. Well, I think that's what we'll do. I think that's what we'll do. But I have to be like genuine about it.
Right.
I can't be like, here, hang on to this. Give it back. Right. Can I have it back? Where's it at?
But I would also say this, and this is what I would say to any couple, doesn't matter what your type is. You can delegate authority, but you can never delegate responsibility.
All right. Explain to us, elaborate. Explain to us.
So it's a term from the Marines, right? You can in the Marines, like if you're an officer, you can delegate authority, you can delegate a task to a subordinate, but the responsibility for the outcome is still on you. So, so it's often common for couples to do a division of labor around their finances in their household, but that doesn't mean you delegate the responsibility completely. So doesn't mean you take a hands-off approach. It means you say the authority is with you, but I still want to check in. Let's do a weekly meetings. Let's talk about it. Let's communicate about it. Let's make sure we're on this. It's not turning a blind eye to it. It's saying you have the talent for this, but I still need to be informed, in the loop, and co-creating this future together. And so that you're still able to provide the necessary checks and balances on his weaknesses, right? So that would just be something I would caution you around.
I love that. We'll have weekly meetings. I love that. Just specifically keep them short and sweet. And that's another thing too. These conversations that couples need to have, they don't have to be long and drawn out, do they?
It doesn't need to be it doesn't. And think about 5s and 8s is you tend to communicate well together. I mean, generally. And so, your honesty and bluntness, like I said, doesn't faze him. It's just a matter of getting him to open up a little bit and giving him the space and time he needs, so he never feels pressure. So if he knows the meeting is coming, for a 5, you don't want to say, "Let's meet now." It's like, "Could we meet next week? Here's the time," right? And that way he's prepared. He's not feel like you're ambushing him.
Yeah, right? Don't say, "Come here, I've got something to show you." I did that to him the other morning, and his face, I was like, "What? It's Epsom salt." He was like, "Don't do that."
It's like, don't ambush the 5. So that's just a.
I was like, "What did I do? What did I say?" He said, "But what's going on?" I said, "I just wanted to show you the Epsom salt was going to be right over here." He was like, "Don't do that."
Nope.
Like, don't do that.
What do I got?
Yeah, I'm in trouble. Yeah, he thought something was. He thought we were getting a divorce. I don't know. There's no telling what's going on in
Right.
his head.
Who
He
knows?
tends to go
Infinite
worst case
possibilities.
scenario. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes. So what I'm still, every time I talk to you, I am just so immersed in this and amazed at how at least for us in our experience, it is so accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
And
find that when you work with people, they're like,
yes.
wow.
Yeah. And I'm gonna change the topic here slightly. I'm gonna give you
Yeah,
a
go
little
for it.
sidebar, which is totally irrelevant, but it relates to relationships. And this is anecdotal in my experience. It's logically derived from the Enneagram, but it's not a law. This is my own little brain fart. But I think it's worth exploring and worth telling to people. If you're not in a relationship or you're thinking of getting into a relationship, one of my advices is don't date your wings. So your
Oh,
wings are the numbers adjacent to you. So if you're an 8, then the numbers next to would be the 9 and the 7.
right.
And those tend to be the ones that are, in a weird way, are most opposite from you. And opposites do attract, but and I could walk you through the whole Enneagram and explain how it works. But essentially, the number that is counterclockwise to you on the wheel is the one that's going to trigger you. And the one on the other side, the one that's clockwise to you, you're going to trigger them.
Oh,
And if you're looking at the shadow structures of each type, the worst vice of the one to the left of you is going to trigger some of your worst
trigger you
tendencies.
most. Yeah.
And it
Interesting.
doesn't mean those relationships can't work. I've seen them, but they're hard. They're really hard.
There's just going to be some additional challenges.
It's a lot of challenges. So
Yeah.
I've made that kind of a rule for myself, someone who's not in a relationship, but take that as a bit of advice if you find it helpful.
Good to know. Put it on your dating site, guys.
Yep.
Put it in your profile.
Yep.
I'm an 8. I'm only accepting 5s.
Well, I mean, yeah, 5s are good, but I mean, it isn't like the rest are bad. It's just if you look at it carefully, you go, "Oh, this is going to be problematic. This is going to be problematic."
Well, and Doug, you know what? You bring up a very valid point that all people who are not in relationships would benefit from, and that's having these conversations ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And having the money conversation, having the thing about the Enneagram.
How are we going to do money?
How are we going to do money? Like, what are your goals? What are your dreams? Do you want this property, for a future? Do you want to, where do you see us in 30 years, and how are we going to get there? And do we have the same shared vision? And it sounds like you and Brody, the great thing about the two of you is you have the same shared vision. And now you just got to figure out, how do we pull our strengths together to make it happen? The problem with a lot of couples is they're just completely different pages with it, and completely different mindsets and attitudes. And then they're just fighting all the time because they're not working as a team.
Yeah. It's worth having the conversation ahead of time to save you years of turmoil, because you do want to be on the same path. At least, I mean, moving at different speeds, like Brody and I move at different speeds, but we are at least on the same path. And very supportive of one another. And we only fight once a year, and it is around finances, actually, our yearly fight. Yeah. So I think I'm excited about this idea.
Without getting too, you can be as personal or as vague as you want, but when those money fights happen, is there a theme or pattern that you can share?
It's me being the primary financial provider for the family, because one, remember, we have a 16-year age gap. So there's that. 2, I always have been, because I started in corporate work and was very successful very quickly. So for me, it's a wound, right? That I've been taken advantage of in that arena many, many, many times with other human beings. And so it's a sore spot for me. So that's what, and me just bringing it up, he would get defensive right away. And then with our tempers, we learned very quickly that we try not to go there, because if we're both there, we're not thinking, and it's not pretty. Yeah. It's not pretty. Yeah.
Well, that was actually, excuse me.
Well, we cycle every year.
But that was actually in mind. I was putting together, I was prepping for the show, putting together a list of some notes about around money, the 5 and the 8. And that was one of the things I didn't mention because I didn't want to assume, but typically that's exactly the pattern you're going to see with the 8 and the 5 is the 8 is going to be the higher earner and the 5 is not. That is going to be with you.
Well, because he doesn't care about money, but he cares about money. Yeah.
Right. Well, he cares about it in particular ways with the dog food, but he doesn't, it isn't like going out there and building the big corporation is probably the thing that
no, like he now has a business. He's taking over the family shop, which was a big transition for him. So we did get him a business mentor for that because I didn't have a mentor and I made so many calls that I would have done differently if I had had a mentor as I was building businesses. So we got him a business mentor who is, taking over the family business from his father. So it's the perfect fit and he's all excited. But no, he has a mentor, but so we have that transition happening. So I'm so super proud of him and for him and excited for him. But no, I said, listen, you could really make some changes. There I go. You could really make some. That's why we got him a business mentor.
Right. He can't be the one. You can't be the one to do it.
I was like, you could really
even when you're right. Even when you're right.
A 7-figure business in no time flat. He's like, I don't want 7-figure. I was like, okay, we don't need $1 million. That's fine. Whatever. So yeah, it can't be me. It can't be me, Doug.
But that is gonna. I think that's something that you guys are probably gonna struggle with for a long time.
That's why I was like, why don't you test drive some mentors?
Yeah. Baby. I mean, it doesn't mean the situation can't change and he can't grow and learn, but it is not his strength. That is not where he is likely to excel. So.
Well, they were minor changes, and I could, of course, with my pattern recognition, I could see them so clearly. I was like,
the business coach in me is like, is there a way to restructure the business slightly so there's somebody else who can manage? Basically, is there someone else who could be in the CEO role and he can be in the operations side, essentially?
It can't be me, Doug.
No, it can't be you. But if you could turn it into a 7-figure business, is there somebody who could take that on, who wants to, who would be good, you would trust? Is there another family member? Is there an employee who's super awesome who could step into the role? Like, is there a way to do a slight restructure so that he doesn't have to be the one who does those things?
Yeah, that's actually a really brilliant idea. When we talk to you further, we'll discuss that. Because it could very easily be a 7-figure business with still serving clients the exact same way that they are. Yeah. And because they have a fantastic reputation and they treat people in their area so well. And it's beautiful to see. And it is such a service. I mean, it's hard to find a mechanic that you can trust.
Yes.
Right. That is going to tell you the truth and it's not going to gouge you. And
my car is in the shop as we speak. I got to go pick it up this afternoon, and finding a good mechanic was a royal pain in the backside, I have to say. So he's got, I think you're right. It is a 7-figure business. So it's just a matter of figuring out. So a lot of times with the Enneagram, knowing your weaknesses doesn't mean you're going to be able to overcome them, but it does mean you can find workarounds, ways of working around them. Right.
I love that. So and say that again. It's not about overcoming or changing or being someone completely different. It's about being aware. Right.
And no, this isn't going to change. It can change. You can grow and get better. There's always progress that's possible. And we're all on a spiritual journey together. And there's also a pragmatic reality that changes. That's the hardest thing about the person to change. And so it's not going to happen overnight. It can happen slowly, but it's probably always going to be there in some way, shape, or form. So rather than trying to fix it, you just work around it. You build a bridge or over it or whatever you need to do so that, and it's going to be true for all of us, especially when we're in relationship with a partner. Your partner has got some strengths that you don't have and vice versa. So don't try to be who you are. You're not. Just try to capitalize on what his strengths are, what he's so darn good at, which is, I'm sure, many million things in the business, particularly, the technical side of it. I'm sure.
He's a mechanical genius. The man can fix anything. Yeah.
So let him do what he loves to do, and don't make him do the things he doesn't, because it's going to burn him out. Like you're going to put him in stress all the time, and that's not going to be good for him, and it's not going to be good for the business.
It's been a difficult transition for us, because it's something he wasn't sure that he had wanted to do. You know how we are as kids, we're
Right.
always like, I'm getting away,
Right.
right? And he has such a tight-knit family, and of course
Yeah.
that wasn't going to happen. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's got great parents that are so fully supportive of him doing whatever he needs to do. So he's got the green light to do what he needs to do. He's got a business mentor now. We'll be working with you. So I think we're really set up for success to have that
Fabulous.
place in the woods in no time at all. So,
Very
but
good.
yeah, in the meantime, I'm paying for the dog treat.
Great.
Yes. In the meantime, I'm paying for the dog treat.
You're
Well,
paying
Doug,
the dog.
as always, we can
Uh-huh.
talk for hours about this. We're already at 49 minutes. My friends, listen, as Brody and I are doing, I would highly encourage you to reach out to Doug. Not only is he just an amazing human being, but has developed this in such a way that, at least for us, is so spot on and so helpful and so heart centered, and does give you room to grow in these areas of core wounding that can affect our relationships in such terribly unnecessary ways. I mean, to the point of them ending. So if you are not in a relationship, grab the book and be aware of your type and be aware of having those not hard conversations. They're actually fun conversations. What do you want? What do you
Right.
want out of life? Where do you want to go? Where do
Yeah.
you want to be? What's your dreams for the future? The fun conversations. And by the way, what do you do with your finances?
Yeah.
How would we handle those?
Right.
Have that conversation. And friends, listen, like we said yesterday, with Natalie and Glenn, it's never too late. If
Yeah.
you're in a relationship and you're feeling like, man, I don't know, it's never too late, but have support and find mentors that can help you in the areas that you're challenged in. It's just like Doug said, is there somebody that can take on the parts that you don't like to do? So find support in the areas that you don't like,
Yeah.
that are better than you at it, and just focus on that and test them out. Take them for a test run. Make sure they're a good fit for you. Make sure they have your back. I could definitely vouch for Doug. Will have your back, as not only the good human that he is, but the extremely knowledgeable um, finance manager that he is. So, couples, it's never too late. So today might not be the day to give up, but it might be the day to find the right kind of support to help you in this next chapter.
And
Doug,
if anybody wants to reach me, I'm at Course Management Investment Advisors in Pinehurst, North Carolina. So I'm sure we'll put the link in the show notes. Just a little quick plug for that. And so
we
please reach out.
will, and we'll be going back into one of the previous episodes and putting his link, because apparently that didn't get added. And we will have both of the previous shows, guys. I highly encourage you to go back and watch those in order. And we'll have Doug's link. He'll have some new offerings on his website coming up in the next couple of weeks, which we're super excited to support.
Thank you to Lisa.
Yeah. He'll have some new offerings for couples listed on his website, but already does them. So find support, guys.
And check out and if you're really struggling and you don't have a lot of money to spend on an investment advisor at this point, it's not the right time. Just the book you can get on Amazon. Taming Your Money Monster: 9 Paths to Money Mastery with the Enneagram. It's a great place to do a deep dive on your psychology of money. And then if you're struggling with just the practical stuff, like how do I budget, save, invest, that's really my first book, From Monk to Money Manager: A Former Monk's Financial Guide to Becoming a Little Bit Wealthy and Why That's Okay, also on Amazon. So that's a how-to book. The first one, Monk to Money Manager, and Taming Your Money Monster is a why-do book. That's going to really help you understand the psychology behind why you make the decisions you do.
Grab both, guys. Grab both the very easy, important reads. This is a big area for all of us, and we always need growth. All right, Doug, I've already asked you the question we usually close out with, which is, what did you perform in order to survive? So I still want to ask you the question of, what do you feel like today, in this moment, we need to be conversing more about? What are the conversations we should be having that we're not having?
Ooh, Wow, that's a really hard one. I mean, in society in general, in me personally, or
Just
within
whatever comes
finance.
to your mind.
Um, mm, what are the
Did I throw you?
No,
Did
well,
I?
well, it has nothing to do with. Well, maybe it's not a finance related question, but the conversation that's been on my mind this week is death, dying, and grief, and that's been something that I've been really thinking about. How do we have, particularly around end of life, money, financial issues? How do we end our lives well? How do we help other people end their lives well? From a caregiving perspective, from a financial perspective, emotionally, psychologically, it's the other taboo topic, like sex, money and death, like those kind of, I think those are the things that we need to be, like
And
you said,
people
like,
tend to lose their minds.
yeah,
Family members, like if things aren't taken care of ahead of time,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
hard.
yeah.
So those are the conversations I would encourage people to have with the people they love, is like, what do you want? You know, and I was having that conversation with my mom, and she's kind of getting to that point where it's not that far around the corner. So just, well, what do you want your legacy to be? How do there's a whole financial piece to it, an economic piece, which I could go into, but it's also that emotional heart piece. Like, how do you want to die? How do you want to, what kind of care do you want? What don't you want? I watched my stepfather passed, both my father and my stepfather passed away from dementia. It was very hard to watch. And so having a little more guidance before they were gone would have been a real blessing about what it is that, how they would like to be treated at the end.
I love it. That's such an important reminder. Friends, have the harder conversations with the
Yeah.
people that you love, care about, and are in service to, and that are in service to you.
Hmm.
If you're not having them out and about, that's one thing. But man, it really goes far to deepen the connection you feel here in this Earth school we're all doing together, because
And
we
and
live
I'll give
God.
you another a quick teaser for another book I started this week, and I got
Ah,
yeah, I got a bad first draft cranked out in the past few weeks. It was kind of a sidebar.
congrats! Bad
I
first drafts rock.
I
Yes.
I don't know when or if I'll publish it, but it's and it came out of the origin is kind of irrelevant, but is how do each Enneagram type, how do we show up in the grief of others? So when you're
Mm.
going to a funeral, someone's passed, like we talk about handling the grief for yourself, for the individual who's suffering, but how do we show up according to our Enneagram type in helpful and unhelpful ways in someone else's grief? What are the helpful things we can do and say, or the unhelpful things we tend to do and say, and how do
Ooh,
those track by our type? And then it gets a little complicated, but that's the basic premise.
I love it. I think you're onto something there. I disappear. I'm
Mhm,
like
mhm.
avoidant,
Right,
avoidant. I will be over here. I don't do funerals.
right,
Yep. Yep. So I'll be picking that one up too, Doug. Thanks. I'll have
sure.
just all of your books. All of your
Well, that's a
books.
ways out. That's going to be a ways out, but and I got another book behind that, another book behind that, but that was just
Once
something
you
to
get
mention.
one done, it's like you
Yeah,
just can't
it's
stop,
it's
right?
easier. It gets easier each
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah. And as with everything in life, my friends, have the harder conversations, they get easier with everyone that you have. And I'm going to ask you guys the question that we always close out with. What are you performing just to survive?
yeah.
And what might dropping that role mask or performance do to better your life or just make you feel a little bit lighter today in
Ooh,
this moment?
it's a big question for a type 3.
Yeah, I'm your host, Lisa Lacy. This is our guest, Doug Lynam. And when you find the answer, we will both see you at the edge. Thank you so much, Doug.